beautiful souls, it's Tan back here again on this channel, Astrology, Human Design, and Gene Keys channel for you. Oh yes, and I'm all Christmas themed today because it's holiday seasons and, you know, just wanted to make this as a gift for you guys, sending you all happy holidays and happy new year to 2021. Of course, today we're going to be doing a video on the great conjunction and the very popular conjunction of Saturn and Jupiter in the sign of Aquarius happening on December 21st, 2020. I feel like this particular conjunction gets such a hype because of the age of Aquarius that we're moving into. I do, however, first of all wanted to just share with you guys that the age of Aquarius, there is no particular date or conjunction or planetary alignments that is a factor to pinpoint, oh, this is the start of the age of Aquarius. There's no such thing. It's slow transitioning into that. And this particular conjunction, of course, adds a layer to that, just like the Pluto-Saturn conjunction that happened this year in 2020 adds a layer to that. Everything builds up into where we're progressing as a collective. Okay, so yes, and we're talking about this conjunction. I first want to share with you guys the energy surrounding Jupiter and Saturn as a planet without really anything else that's going on around it, and what is this energy all about. This elastic band is the energy of Saturn and Jupiter, because these are the rings of Saturn. We think about the planet, the astronomical shape of the planet Saturn. It's got rings around it, symbolizing boundaries, limitations, structures. Sometimes it's restrictions. But Jupiter is the great expansion planet. So we're gonna have something kind of like this elastic band, rubber band, when we have Jupiter and Saturn coming together. We want to, these energies are about expansion within certain boundaries, within certain structures. We think about slow growth, because if we grow too quickly, it's gonna break. If we stretch the material limitations of Saturn, we're gonna break what we're trying to build. It's all about that building up energy into something bigger, better, hopefully, progress with it being in sign of Aquarius, with regards to more humanitarian values infused in there because it's in Aquarius. We're talking about, quality control that needs to happen when it comes to Jupiter and Saturn. We're talking about, yes, slow, gradual growth, but we're also talking about quality rather than quantity. Not to have too much of something, but to have just enough of something that's of quality. So that's the energy of these two planetary conjunctions. And this planetary conjunction happens every 20 years. That's when they make their way around astronomically and conjunct. Because it happens every 20 years, the idea of it coming together itself, I don't think it's that rare. Like, we will be experiencing this at least, twice or 3 or 4 times if you're lucky in your life. But the thing is that, astronomically, with regards to the arc minutes, I don't know what the measurement, astronomical measurement is that the two planets have not been this close as they are in 2020 since 1623. The last time it had come this close was actually in the year 1623. So that was about like 400 years ago. But it does conjunct every 20 years. So therefore, I want to trace back the history of this conjunction a little bit just to get a sense of like what's been going on. I want to infuse in this video Gene Keys and the Human Design because that's how I work nowadays. I like to look at all these systems together. And so when we look back at the last conjunction that this happened, it was on the 28th of May, the year 2000. And that was conjunct in the sign of Taurus, 22 degrees of Taurus. And that's Gene Key 23 in Human Design and Human Design Gate 23. That is complexity, simplicity, quintessence. It's about innovations and bringing in new ideas that are of more value. And that year we saw it was sort of a peak year with regards to online businesses. That's when it kind of started booming or becoming popular, shall we say. So that's what happened there. And before that, 20 years before that, on the 25th of July 1981, we had another conjunction between Jupiter and Saturn in the sign of Libra. at 5 degrees of Libra. That's gene key 18, human design gate 18. And that's about judgment, integrity, and perfection. So that year marks the year that the AIDS epidemic was detected. And this particular gene key and I Ching hexagram, it's called working on what has been spoiled. Before that, 1940, there was another conjunction on the 14th of October in the sign of Taurus again between Jupiter and Saturn. So within the past 80 years, this conjunction happened in the sign of Taurus twice, Libra once, and now it's happening in Aquarius. I'm seeing a theme here actually of it being conjunct in fixed signs, but anyways. So that year, 1940, was conjunct in Taurus, gene key 27. 27, like cusping from gene key number 27 into gene key number 2. And gene key number 27 is selfishness, altruism, selflessness, and that was the ongoing of the Second World War. Okay, so that's mainly kind of like what's been going on there. And so would I say that there were some important events happening? Yes, I guess I would. But, you know, would I consider that these were the only years where there was some progress being made, some things being stirred up? Not really. I mean, there's a lot of other planetary conjunctions that spark something in the sky, just as much as Jupiter and Saturn would. So now I want to, you know, speak to you guys from a place of looking at the alignments of December 21st, 2020, what that looks like, because it is going to set a theme for 2021, because Jupiter and Saturn will continue to be in Aquarius together in 2021. But I don't feel like this is also just something that's going to be setting a theme for next year. It is setting a theme for the next 20 years, but it's like I said, it's a progress of our development as a collective. There's new themes coming in all the time. So this is another layer to that. It's another theme that's coming in. Okay, so I made a little Christmas chart for you guys that we're going to be looking at today because it's a holiday season. Okay, so the themes of Jupiter and Saturn coming in together in the sign of Aquarius does bring themes of leadership. Saturn is, of course, the authority figures. Saturn is the government. Saturn is the father principles in all of us, and it's the father archetype. Jupiter, when we're seeing this overlap of leadership, Jupiter brings a person who is a teacher, a guru, a wise person into this mixture. So the major themes for next year, and you know, this new themes of progress that's being brought into the collective are themes of reconsideration and a slow gradual building up of a new type of leadership that's going to Aquarius, progress humanity, that is going to can stir up some kind of revolution, definitely, that can bring in more sensitivities, human interconnectedness to the world. So Jupiter and Saturn are conjuncting at gene key number 60, which goes from limitation, realism to justice. So the shadow frequency is limitation. The gift in the city is realism and justice. And when we see this archetype, we are looking at, when it comes to limitations, that we're going to be looking at during these upcoming years will be based on the main structures that maybe need to be reevaluated. The first limitations that, whether for good or for bad, limits us is with regards to legislation. Laws, for example, laws and legislations. If a particular legislation or law bogs us down to the point where it really causes red tape, this is something that we may need to be considering, or the new type of leaderships that are coming into the world will be considering. And when I say leaderships, I don't want you guys to think of this as just being, you know, politicians or big owners of big companies. I want you guys to think of this as yourself. You are leaders. You're all leaders. You all have the potential to be leaders in different areas of life in the world, but also in different areas of your own life. We're all stepping into a phase of how are we going to become leaders in certain areas of our lives. I want you guys to think about it like this, because when you become the leader of your own life, you can always step and become a world leader, a country leader, a community leader, a family leader. So yeah, this is the first one is with regards to legislations and laws. Sometimes we can see that the leaders are so caught up and restricted with regards to these laws that they forget good intentions of people. They forget that sometimes the good intentions, or sometimes the need to adapt or break the laws for progress, for good intentions, is something that they feel, they really can't have, right? And the second structure that for the good or the bad can be limitation is with regards to the economy. So money. Money has enormous potential to give us what we consider freedom or to limit us in our society. It is an essential part of life, but it is also limiting us, limiting people with regards to, like, for example, getting to eat what they want to eat. The necessities of life are being limited by money. Having a house, having 4 walls is limited by money. So this is another theme here. Another structure that we want to consider that can be for good or bad limitation is our own past. The past of the collective, the history of the world, shall we say. Outdated mindset also can limit us. This outdated mindset can cause us to limit innovations, creativity, magic even, that is trying to make its way into the world. The next one is going to be moral laws, and we can see this very strongly in particular religions, what is right and what is wrong. And the last kind of structure / limitation is with regards to human thinking. So human thinking is a little bit different from the past, because outdated mindset is still based on the past and traditions. But human thinking is the inability to break out of your paradigms, or the resistance to breaking out of your existing paradigms, for the fear of the unknown, for the fear of something more mystical, shall we say. Okay, so that's kind of like what's going on there. And so when we come to realism, we are talking about, I don't know if you guys have checked out unlockyourdesign.com. If not, I highly recommend that you check out that website. They have some really simple ways of explaining these gene key archetypes there, and they call the gene key 60 the magician. And I really want you to think about these new leaders that are coming into the world, and of course with yourself as being the leader, how can you be a magician in your life? And a magician has to understand the elastic band. He or she has to know that they need to work with tools that are currently existing, material tools. Magician needs a hat, they need a wand, they need a rabbit, a cloak, cards, a deck of cards, whatever it is that they need. They need to be able to work with that so that they create magic out of it. They work with those limitations, but yet they allow for faith, magic, and creativity to flourish. And so the shadow of limitation is when we're working with these tools in the material world, but we don't allow for that magic, that faith, that creativity to flourish. But realism still takes into consideration limitation, but infuses magic and creativity in there. So this is the new kind of leadership that's coming into the world. And I feel that when we get to the level of justice, it's really like, okay, this is going to be a time of justice between science and the mystics. And I don't know if you guys follow Mayan astrology, but I like to combine different things together. But in Mayan astrology, we're moving into the year with regards to this particular conjunction on December 21st, 2020, of the blue hand. And the blue resonant hand. The blue hand is about using spiritual tools for accomplishment and power. And so we can have power to accomplish in a negative way, which is going to be done through limitation, imposing power to limit others. Or we can use power for the purpose of doing something better in the world and really accomplishing that. And there's also this consideration of like, what is power? And I think there's going to be a redefinition of what we would term power now in the world. I went to research a little bit of, powerful people in the world, and I couldn't believe what came up on Forbes.com. with regards to ranking people, with regards to power. Vladimir Putin was number 2 on the list as powerful people, and Donald Trump was number 3 on the list as the world's most powerful people. And they gave the definition or the factors, the criteria for powerful people to be the following. I'll read out to you. The factors to select each of the world's most powerful people. How many people over whom they have power? What does that even mean? The financial resources they control. So we're talking about money. If they have influence in more than one sphere, and how actively they wield their power to change the world. Wield their power. So we can see that these could potentially be outdated, or a mindset or a way of thinking that is no longer going to work in the world. And so these are the things that, you know, I'd like to share with you guys with regards to this. But at the same time, because Jupiter and Saturn are conjuncting, this is not an energy where we are going to be able to just go out there and cause a demonstration and be like, yeah, we want new leadership. It's not that kind of energy because of the magician energy. And if you really think about demonstrations, movements that are happening from a place of reaction, from a place of anger or urgency, or even fear or sadness, when you have a demonstration, there's always a 50% chance risk that somebody could get hurt, that somebody could die. So we can't really say that this kind of a approach is a humanitarian approach, because how can it be a humanitarian approach if we are doing it and people are dying along the way? Isn't it ironic? A real revolution is not based on impatience. It is not based on the need to have it your way now. It's based on slow, gradual, strategic planning and implementation with regards to the realism, the structures that we currently have and what we can make use of in the world. It always, you know, that's kind of like what's going on here. Okay, and so with regards to this day, the Sun and Mercury are going to be in Jinki number 10, so that's self-obsession, naturalness, being. So there's a very interesting thing going on, because Uranus is also going to be falling to gate 27. That's going to square this Saturn-Jupiter conjunction. And Uranus is actually conjuncting Lilith, mean Lilith and true Lilith, which are not an actual mathematical point, but they're kind of like a space, a vast space. So I look at, you know, both mean and true Lilith kind of as these different degrees that they occupy. So we've got, and the Sun and Mercury are going to be semi-sextile Jupiter and Saturn, because Capricorn and Aquarius, they semi-sextile each other, and Uranus is coming into the mix to square Jupiter and Saturn. And so we can see that we've got a self-obsession and selfishness. And it's super interesting, the Jinki 27, this Uranus and Taurus, is that selfishness is coming from the mentality or the idea of individual survival rather than collective survival. That's when we misuse power. That's when we have like leaders that are, we should say, corrupted because of the self-obsession and selfishness. Thinking in terms of only individual survivals, or survival of just a country, survival of just a community or a tribe, without considering the whole of humanity and the world and how we can survive together rather than that individual survival. And at this shadow frequency, you know, because we have Lilith coming here, I haven't made a video on my channel to talk more deeply into Lilith, but I may do it soon. But we all know that Lilith is what is considered the dark feminine. And Eve, who is the second wife of Adam, is the light feminine. So we have light feminine and dark feminine that, you know, when come together can really bring us into wholeness. And so when we are talking about the dark feminine, we are talking about a way that we want to make changes in the world for the purpose of fairness. That can be pretty cutthroat. The energy of Lilith is not about going around and trying to, like, how do I say, use gentleness really. But Lilith is like about the truth, and Lilith is about Lilith will cut your ego off if she has to, but not for bad intentions. She would do it out of purity of heart, out of some kind of innocence, but she would do it in a way where it's like, it's not working, we gotta cut it off. And there's even a quote that says that the re-emergence or the reintegration of Lilith into the world is what's going to make the world a better place. And so we're going to see this energy of the dark feminine coming into the world again, or maybe coming for the first time, could be. But can we consider Lilith to be a selfish entity, or current entity? A little bit. And so we want to be able to be selfish for a good reason. And the avoidance of selfishness without really understanding what it is what's going to lead to the destructive side of selfishness. The archetype of the 27 has so much to do with food, and Lilith has to do with fertility. So we're going to be seeing this, we are probably already seeing more emergence of this theme of getting equality in the world with regards to how we deal with food sources. And I cannot tell you how many of my friends or people that I know in my life are coming to me and saying that they now want to be vegetarian. They're like, Tan, how do I become a vegetarian? I know you're a vegetarian. Please, I want to be healthy at the same time, but also not consume any more animal products because of environmental reasons. And, Taurus rules nature. She's an earth sign. This is Venus we're talking about here. And when we talk about selfishness, we are looking at how we may delude ourselves to self-sacrifice with guilt. So giving and giving and giving, and then feeling guilty afterwards. Or giving for the need to take something back in return. Giving with an agenda. That's the part of selfishness that's coming, that's like what causes selfishness, shall we say. It's still rooted in individual survival, if you see what I mean here. So if we have a kind of leadership that is self-sacrificing, but holding a certain amount of guilt inside that particular leader, we are going to see a lashing out. But if we have a leader who is giving, making a contribution for their own agenda, and this is the type I feel we see more so in the world, that hidden agenda for the doing good with a hidden agenda, then we also have corruption that's going on there. And so altruism is really thinking about the whole entire world, the environment, all living organisms, and it's the pod mind. How can we think less about this need for our individual survival? I mean, and yes, a lot of it has to do with nurturing and food. So if we are, wanting to have so much to nurture ourselves, like money nurtures the self, eating luxury foods to serve the self, grabbing more money for a comfortable lifestyle when there's still malnourished children in Africa and there's still people who are struggling with poverty. But then we're a politician and we're like, hey, I'm going to impose new laws and regulations for the betterment of our country. But I still want more for myself because I want that comfort, I want that nurturance, I want that survival. So this is like what we're being enlightened into, sort of a little bit of this period of revolution, shall we say, with regards to these leadership roles. Okay, we also have the asteroid Lilith, which is the actual asteroid now, conjunct Pluto in Gene Key 61 instead of Capricorn. An exact conjunction right there. This is psychosis, inspiration, and sanctity. And with this energy is like, it's rooted in the crown. It's in the, in human design body graph, it's in the part of the individual circuitry. It goes right down your spine, but it's in the crown. And Gene Key 60, Jupiter-Saturn conjunction, is in the root. So there's this huge surge of energy that's going in our individual circuitry, which tells me that there's going to be an individual transformation that is necessary and required for collective transformation. There will have to be a more embracing of individual creativity, individual self-transformation, individuality in general. And that means the looking inwards and the willingness to have a mutation within your physical body and yourself, having the inspiration to do that, to look inwards. Otherwise, we're gonna have psychosis. We're gonna be feeling like the world is chaotic. I want to make sense of it. I want to answer to the question, why are all these things happening? But that's going to make you go around in a loop. So we want to be able to align during these times, and Astrology, this is coming here. We want to be able to align through these times the embodiment of the actual darker feminine in our body and in our mutation process. Okay, and Mars, which is going to be square to Pluto, is going to be in Gene Key 42. This is expectation, detachment, and celebration. Letting go of living and dying. So letting go of that individual need to survive individually in the detriment of the collective, worldly, environmental survival. And yeah, like letting that go and coming into a state of detachment and celebration. Enjoying each step of the journey that we are taking during these times. And with the North Node, North and South nodes being in Gene Key 45 and 26, that's Gemini, Sagittarius there. Dominance, communion, synergy, pride, artfulness, and visibility. This is all about business. This is a very entrepreneurial type of a spirit. So tying in within, what we've talked about so far, we could be seeing a blooming of more independent businesses that are going to be based on communion rather than dominance, which is a more like hierarchical structure of businesses rather than the hierarchical structure of businesses. And the need to share resources rather than the need to accumulate resources through businesses. And even the ability to join two businesses that would be considered as competitors, but because that creates hierarchies, but joining them in a way where it would be more hierarchical and kind of like, hey, we're on the same page, we're gonna be able to share clients. And that can be super scary with regards to the old mindset, the limitations that we used to have regarding businesses, because it's like, we have two products that are exactly the same, so we have to compete. But these energies are calling for us to reconsider, well, how can we really bring out our inner power, our real inspiration and creativity when we are in this phase of really needing to look inwards? And if the businesses are really for the purpose of altruism, but we know that each individual business has their own inspiration that nobody else can ever duplicate or replicate, then there's really no competition there. If your company is going to be able to help the client more than my company can with regards to certain areas that the client needs, then you should have that client. That's altruism. But we have enough faith and trust, not expectation, but we have the faith and trust in the inspiration of the creativity of our business, that there's something there that you're not going to have as well. And so if the client needs to come to us for a specific area of service, then that would be our turn. That's altruism. And that's definitely working with our limitations to have realism and justice. So these are like really interesting energies that are tying in here. And Neptune still remains in Gene Key 22, which is that sign of Pisces. Dishonor, graciousness, grace. Gene Key 22 tying into all of this is a very important gene key with regards to the gene keys and Richard Rudd and what he says about it. This is about having kind of like faith that the divine will enter into the material worlds. So there's a lot of need to trust, a lot of faith, a lot of course, looking inwards to really feel. When we really feel, we will, have more grace rather than dishonor. If we are a selfish leader, that's dishonor. If we are dominance, in a state of dominance in our businesses and pride, that's dishonor. I mean, really looking at ourselves and saying, okay, what are we doing? What are we doing in the world? And but the the road to that change can only come when we face our fears, when we face our karma, and we say, okay, I've done something that is dishonorable here, and I'm willing to work with that. That is graciousness, that is grace. Okay guys, so I think that's, I hope that was kind of useful for you guys. And now I want to really quickly just go through each of the rising signs and having a look at how this Jupiter-Saturn conjunction is going to affect each of you guys individually. And I want you guys to look at this with regards to like, how can you be that leader that we're looking for in a particular area of your life, in whichever house this conjunction falls into, so that, you know, you never know what kind of potentials you're going to be able to bring to become that leader in the world, or that leader in your community or in your family. With Aries Rising, you will have this conjunction in your 11th house. Ooh, this is super juicy because this house is a natural house for Saturn, actually. Saturn is ruled by Aquarius and Capricorn. So this is really a potent time for you, Aries Rising, to consider of how you're going to work with your limitations to bring magic in your communities, in your actual groups that you belong in. And how are you going to bring your quirkiness, the weirder parts of yourself out into the public, into a particular community, a group of like-minded people, to build and make that your dream, because there's so much influence that you're going to be having during these times. It's Jupiter and Saturn here. Yes. For Taurus Rising, you will be having this conjunction in your 10th house. So this is going to be creating a reputation that can be coming across or coming out to the world as the leader that we are looking for during these times. It's about building that kind of a reputation and image to the public of how you have worked through your limitations to create magic. With regards to in your own life, I also see this as being you kind of building up your integrity and, you know, being that leader to the world who is gonna persevere without kind of doing anything under the table, and having so much integrity in climbing the hardest mountains for you. And that's the kind of leadership that you're being called to step into. For Gemini Rising, this conjunction is going to be happening in your 9th house. So Jupiter's naturally rules the 9th house. Jupiter likes being here. So these are really potent times for you Gemini Risings of becoming a teacher, really becoming that guru, and thinking about the new perspective, the new perspectives that you can bring to the world about leadership. And you can become that leader within your own life or community or in the world that changes paradigms. If you want to start teaching something, if you want to start going to school, you know, getting that higher education back into your life, this is a really great time to do that. Traveling as well, for the purpose of that, you know, changing those paradigms. That's going to be a theme here. For Cancer Rising, this conjunction is going to fall in your 8th house. So these are going to be potent times for you to consider how you can become that leader through working with your limitations when it comes to your sexuality, when it comes to also your own psychology and the intimate part of relationships in your life, and how you're going to invest your money. There's a lot going on with the 8th house. So this feels to me like there's going to be that slow, gradual growth when it comes to looking at your past sexual experiences and, you know, stepping up as a powerful person. Like sexual empowerment is what I'm feeling here, and that can be something that you're here to offer the world with, or offer, you know, the people in your close community with, is like that sexual empowerment. And also when it comes to money and investing money and looking at getting money from various different sources, you're going to be an expert at that during these times. Leo Rising, this conjunction is going to happen in your 7th house. So there's a business savvy theme here where you are going to be stepping into that diplomatic leader. You're going to really be able to work with like negotiations, contracts, making sure that it's balanced for both parties. There's going to be slow, gradual growth where you have to work with your limitations regarding partnerships. But when you come out of this, it's like that energy of like really knowing how to judge properly all types of partnerships. Even settling down, getting married and being able to come up with contracts regarding that. For Virgo Rising, this conjunction is going to be in your 6th house. This is all about your daily working environment and your health. So these are really potent times for you to really be working with regards to the limitations in your immediate environment, kind of like your house or your working office, and kind of like creating magic in your day-to-day so that it empowers you to work better, to be healthier. Food and nutrition, and what are the limitations to that? Like, what should you not be eating because it's so bad for your body? What kind of exercises should you not be doing? And what is the magic that can come out from that? How can you be more creative with what's right for you? For Libra Rising, this conjunction is going to be happening in your 5th house. Creative projects, speculative businesses. You're going to be building really slowly these creative projects, whatever projects you have going for you, so that you really build something quite beautiful. And people are going to be able to see your integrity with regards to these projects that you're building as somebody that they admire and becoming a leader. If you're starting a business, if you have a business, or you consider taking risk when it comes to your businesses, that slow strategic planning can cause a lot of expansion in this area of your life for you. And being a leader in your own business, like, really having people to work for you, or really being that manager, that CEO, like that's really coming around here as well. For Scorpio Rising, this conjunction is going to be happening in your 4th house. So this is about the home environment and the really inner parts of you. So are you trying to build a home, or are you trying to buy a home? Are you investing in that area? Because that, you can become a person that people are going to admire and be respected because of the way that you've strategically planned your real estate situation. But also doing the inner work, like meditation, for example. These are going to be like times where you can be growing really slowly, working with the limitations of your mind and creating magic through meditative practices. Sagittarius Rising, this particular conjunction is going to be happening in your 3rd house. So this is all about learning, teaching, going to workshops, gathering the right types of information and sharing that information, or just processing that information. There's almost this energy of like, if you've had any kind of limited mindset or a way of using your mind and the way that you process information that feels stagnant, like you're not thinking outside the box, this conjunction will slowly cause you to look at those limitations and really like, how can you step out of that and expand on the way that you used to think? And with regards to your immediate environment as well, there can be like, you can be going around the block and meeting more people and slowly building communities here and there in your immediate environment. Really being that, person that people want to look up to for your information, the information that you have. That's kind of leadership that you're bringing in here, and kind of even being a leader in these small communities that you are going around and joining or creating in your immediate environment. With Capricorn Rising, this conjunction is going to be happening in your 2nd house. So that is going to be all about money. So this is going to be like you really working hard. If you are working in any career that you currently have, where there's a consistent income, like a salary, there may be improvements on that. Like you may begin to see the work slowly and gradually with regards to any limitations in your money situation to expand on that. But it's coming from hard work. It could come from you making investments here and there and taking loans, but that's more of the 8th house. But this is really coming from you bringing out your values, really reconsidering your values and working slowly to build a life that is meaningful and valuable to you, and then you get the money. This even feels to me like stepping up and being in that, managerial CEO position that you've always wanted, keeping in mind that there will be limitations that you have to work with there, but how can you create magic in that? But like, this feels to me like you're gonna be climbing that ladder if you've been working hard for it. Okay, for Aquarius Rising, this particular conjunction is gonna be happening in your first house. And so this almost feels to me like a slow, gradual building up of being a leader, of actually going on a path where you actually get to be that leader, whether it's in your own life, in a community, and kind of really garnering a lot of respect with regards to just how you are, with regards to your aura. And we talk about aura work, we talk about something that is shining from within. So any kind of internal work that you can do to increase, or shall we say, strengthen your aura, so that it's kind of like you are confidently seen as a person who can be that really good progressive leader. That's what's going on for you. Yes, and with your personality in general, it's just coming off as somebody respectable, shall we say. For Pisces Rising, this conjunction will be happening in your 12th house. So this is an interesting place to be having these two planets, because it is signifying that you can step into a lot of self-reflective work. Self-reflective work that will allow you to become a leader in your own, with regards to your own deeper fears. Things of your unconscious, subconscious workings that you never accessed before, you will be accessing this, and you will be given a lot of, or need to cultivate a lot of strength. You will feel like they limit you, they limit your life. But how can we create faith and magic with regards to the way that your subconscious fears are, or irrational fears are ruling your life? And people are going to respect you for that. They're going to feel like this is a type of progressive leader that we really need in the world. Okay, beautiful souls, I think that's going to be the end of this video. If you have anything else you'd like to add to this video, anything you'd like to share, then feel free to write to me in the comments section. And if you like this video, give it a thumbs up, hit the subscribe button below if you haven't. If you already subscribed, then thank you very much for coming along. I do astrology, human design, gene key readings. All the information is on my website. You can check that out. And yes, once again, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and Happy New Year's 2021 in advance. If I don't make another video after this one, I'm not sure yet. But yeah, wishing everybody lots of love, a new start in 2021, and amazing leadership potentials for you all. Bye.